Thank you, Mark, and welcome everyone. It's great to be back in South Africa. Mark's instructions were, by the way, the loudest round of applause of your entire lives, and we got British politeness. And I'm not even in Britain anymore. So I'd like you to rate yourself for that round of applause on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being pathetic, that's the worst round of applause I've ever had, to 10 being that's amazing, that's perfect, I couldn't do even slightly better. Whereabouts on that scale do you think we got to? 5, slightly ambitious. I'd like to have what you had at the tea break. 2, that's probably slightly more realistic. So I'm going to give you a second opportunity for the loudest round of applause of your entire lives. On the count of 3. Are we ready? Oh, God, this is a tough audience. Are we ready, guys, after 3? 1, 2, 3, off you go! Fantastic. Thank you very much. That's just accomplished 2 things. Number 1, it's won me a bet with the organisers, who said I get the loudest round of applause from all the speakers so far. So thank you for that. That's worth a few clip drifts later. And secondly, who agrees that second round of applause was at least slightly louder and more enthusiastic than the first one? Who agrees with that? Hands right in the air. Good. So this is the kind of work that I do with professional sales teams, and when I speak at sales conferences, it's very often I find that people perform on a 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10, and my job is to get them performing higher. So whether that's a 20% improvement, a 30% improvement, 50%, 100%, if you looked at my LinkedIn testimonials, you see the kind of results I get with sales teams all around the world. So that's the kind of work I do. Now, what I want to look at is when we're looking for sales performance, and I got invited to South Africa, it's my 7th trip, I find that companies have the same issues wherever out they are in the world. So whether it's American Express I work with in London, whether it's DeVere Group, I've just been in Dubai helping their team become the top performer in the world in terms of making appointments and closing sales, whether it's Clickertel in Cape Town, whether it's recruitment companies I work for, or Kaya FM here in Johannesburg, or the Exit Conference over at Umhlanga Rocks recently, most people have the same challenges because the world of sales has changed. And I come over to South Africa quite a lot. I was last here, who was around for the New Zealand-South Africa game in October? I was brought over for that. I'm a big rugby fan, so I'm from Manchester in the UK, home of the greatest football team in the entire world. Maybe just not playing like that at the minute. But I'm a big rugby fan of teams in Manchester and a huge England rugby fan. So when I was last in South Africa, I came over for the game. A friend of mine said to me, you've got to come to the game, but you've got to support South Africa. You've got to look like you're supporting South Africa. So this, for me, as an England rugby fan, was really hard. So if you like this next slide, I need a huge round of applause. Is that cool? This is what he made me do. Which was particularly painful for me. Okay, so back to the sales stuff. So with professional sales teams, very often one of the things I say in my keynotes is that the world of sales has changed. And the world of sales has changed because the way people buy has changed. So if I go back to 18 years ago when I was a professional buyer, and I think how we used to buy then, if I was buying a telephone system, I'd be collecting the leaflets and the brochures on the phone systems, I'd put them in the filing cabinet. When I needed a phone system, I'd pull out the brochures, I'd ring some of the companies and say, please send one of your salespeople to come and see me to educate me on your phone system. Tell me why it's better, all the features, advantages, and benefits, and all the really good sales training stuff that worked really well back in the 80s and 90s. And then I'd have a long way through the process. I'd understand what's the system like, I'd get a demonstration, they taught me through the features, advantages, benefits, and then I'd make a buying decision. My question is, when we're looking to buy something these days, do we follow that same process, yes or no? Do we still, collect brochures and leaflets in filing cabinets? No. For most of us in the room, when we buy personally or professionally, the first thing we do these days, we look where? Online and on Google. We do our own research as buyers, and therefore we go, right, we'll define the specification, then we go out to the market, we say to salespeople, we've now defined what we want, here's the specification, give us your best price. So the client decides the spec. So in the old days, the salesperson used to educate the buyer, which is where the old sales stuff really worked. These days, the buyer educates themselves. So they don't want to hear about features, advantage, benefits. They say, this is what we want. We've gone out to 20 people. Give us your best price. Because there's lots of competition. Market has become commoditized. So it's now a price issue. And sales teams say to me, Andy, we've got a price problem. We've got a fee problem. We've got a margin problem. I say, no, you're wrong. You do not have a price problem. You have a differentiation problem. You do not have a price problem, you have a differentiation problem. Because if you cannot differentiate from your competition in the sales process, they will not believe it's worth paying the price you want to charge for what you sell. So the differentiation is the key. Otherwise, it's a buyer's market, and you're now competing a commodity on price. That's a massive problem the world over. So we think is we need to differentiate and stand out in the sales process. Because when we've bought from somebody before, we make our buying decisions based on repeat purchase. We bought from somebody new, we base it on the behavior of the salesperson in the process. The question is, how good are your salespeople versus your competition? So before I finish, I want to make sure I've got the most enthusiastic bunch of people in the entire world, let alone in Johannesburg. So I need the loudest round of applause on the count of 3, guys. Are you ready? Oh, that's no good. Right, let's do this properly. Everyone stand up. Almost without complaining as well. Fantastic. Everybody else, I'll come and find you. Good. On the count of 3, the loudest round of applause of your entire life. Stamp the table, stamp your feet, do what I have you do. Are you ready, guys? 1, 2, 3, off you go. Perfect, guys. Thank you. I've been Andy Preston. I'd love to speak to you next conference, and that will look awesome on the video. Thank you very much.